Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
May I step down, Ms. Barrett? Prosecution, do you have any witnesses to call?
Yes, Your Honor. We would like to call Officer C.M. Cheney to the stand.
Okay, Officer Cheney, our Assistant Bailiff to help us here.
Yeah, do you affirm to tell this court and jury the whole truth, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Would you please state your name and age for the court?
My name is C.M. Cheney, and I am 29 years old.
Your Honor, I would like to introduce into evidence Prosecution Exhibit A, the witness statement of Officer C.M. Cheney. At this time, I submit it for identification by Officer C.M. Cheney.
Can I take a look at that, please? Is the officer planning to read up from this document?
I would just like to ask him questions on this document, Your Honor.
Okay, I don't think we need to put it in evidence. You can get back. You can go ahead.
What is your experience?
I have a degree in criminal justice from South Bend College in Haddonfield, South Carolina, and I've also put 9 hours toward my advanced degree in criminal justice there.
How many years have you worked for the police?
7 years.
Could you please give us a brief description of the Jackson versus Benham hearing?
What the Jackson versus Denner hearing originally was just a trial, trying an officer, and in that trial they discovered that if it is basically based on whether a witness or a suspect's signature of a document is is involuntary or voluntary, and just based on that.
Okay, so would you say that Mrs. Barrett's statement that she signed was voluntary or involuntary?
It was voluntary.
And did you ever read Mrs. Barrett her Miranda rights?
I do not have any specific recollection of reading her Miranda rights. However, I do make it a habit of reading every suspect her Miranda rights, both at the time of arrest and when they submit their statement at the station.
And so did you ever threaten Mrs. Barrett to give you a statement?
No, I did not.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Okay. Would you like to cross the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. At what point in time did you label Mrs. Barrett as the primary suspect?
I guess about when I arrested her.
Wasn't there anybody else at the scene?
Lee Porter was at the scene.
Did you ask any questions did you ask Mrs. Barrett any questions before reading her rights?
I did ask her one question before arresting her. However, since this was before the time of arrest, the Miranda rights don't apply to this question.
If you didn't read Mrs. Barrett her rights at the scene, then why wouldn't you have asked her anything? Excuse me, why would you ask her anything if you did not read her rights?
As I said before, she was not under arrest at that time, so the rights did not apply to any questions I asked her before the time of arrest.
Did you read her rights to her at the station?
Yes, I make it a habit of doing that with all suspects.
You asked her to give a confession, and she did, correct?
Correct.
Mrs. Barrett stated afterwards she wouldn't have given a confession or stated anything if she had known her rights, and yet she gave one against her will. Why would she do this?
I don't know why she would do anything against her will.
Could you please show the court where Mrs. Barrett confessed anything in her confession? Your Honor, may you please see the confession?
Sure.
What was the question?
Could you please identify where Mrs. Barrett confessed anything in that document?
She didn't really confess anything. It is merely police procedure to collect a confession along with the witness statement.
If you make a habit of reading suspects' their rights, then why didn't you read Mrs. Barrett her rights?
I never said I did not read her rights.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
At this time, I'm not gonna throw out the, confession with officers' warnings. We're gonna keep that as evidence, and proceed with our trial in this. So, prosecution, are you prepared to give your opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, thank you all for coming out on this evening. My name is Holly Harris, and along with my invaluable colleagues, Andrew King and Evan Bardsley, I am here to prove to you that Barbara Allen Barrett did indeed kill her husband. She is indeed guilty of a horrible crime, and for the sake of the victim, John Walker Barrett, we seek justice. Means, motive, opportunity, and malice. Barbara Allen Barrett had all four. On the night of the killing, John told Barbara he wanted a divorce. To fully understand this action, we must look farther back into the story. While neither of the two in the couple was perfect, the relationship was average. Yes, they had their arguments, but nothing was ever serious, up until the point where Barbara devised John's death. There was never any violence in the home, but Barbara was a very jealous woman. She grew unhappy in the relationship and complained about John often. John saw this unhappiness, and it led to his own discomfort. Soon, the two both grew miserable. However, John chose to handle the problem calmly and diplomatically. He offered Barbara a way out, divorce, and Barbara had the financial means in trust funds to survive on her own. Although John sought only to end the relationship in a quiet, respectful